Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by the following: IU Health Southern Indiana physicians, primary care and specialty care providers now accepting new patients in Bloomington and throughout South Central Indiana. siphysicians.org, IU Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research, working to improve cybersecurity and provide policy guidance through partnerships with industry, government, and academia.
Smithville Fiber, the Gigacity Company, fiber internet, HD, and digital IPTV in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com.
And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana Newsdesk, medical device manufacturers are getting a temporary tax break. It amounts to millions for some companies like Bloomington-based Cook Medical.
It means that we have more resources to devote to our employees. It means that we have more resources to devote to potential infrastructure.
But the medical device tax is almost certainly going to resurface. Ahead, how are companies operating, not knowing what the future holds? Plus, at least 3 incidents in the past couple weeks could potentially be investigated as a hate crime.
It's not a crime against an individual, it's a crime against an entire community.
Indiana is one of only 5 states without a hate crimes law. Legislators punted on the issue this session. But these incidents are fueling the conversation about whether tougher laws are needed. Plus, with less than a week left in the 2016 legislative session, where do the big issues stand? Those stories, plus the latest news headlines from around the state, right now on Indiana Newsdesk. Welcome to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Joe Wren. Well, with just days left in the legislative session, supporters of a bill covering hate crimes are still hopeful for a law to protect all citizens from crimes motivated by hate. It's an issue which has drawn support for years but never passed. It did receive some traction in the legislature this year, but last week lawmakers ended the discussion saying they were too busy this session to call up a bill that would cover hate crimes. As J.D. Gray reports, when crimes motivated by hate occur, many are left wondering why Indiana doesn't prosecute them like the majority of state in the U.S.
The headquarters of the Islamic Society of North America are usually home to community events and religious ceremonies. The goal of the group is to serve Muslims living in North America and foster strong interfaith relationships in the continent. But over the weekend, the headquarters were violated.
At 6:50 in the morning on Sunday, vandals spray-painted vulgarities and slurs on the front wall of the Islamic Society of North America.
Community members gathered on Monday afternoon. Instead of focusing on the negative aspects of the vandalism, ISNA leaders framed the event in a positive light as an opportunity to bring together those from different religious backgrounds in support of each other.
So while our mosque may have been vandalized and spray-painted by 3 young men, our community was reached out to and supported by hundreds of our fellow Americans and interfaith partners.
Among those showing support for the ISNA was a representative of Congressman Andre Carson, who read a statement the congressman prepared.
Hate crimes attack both individual victims and entire communities. They are meant to isolate and terrorize. Whether it's a bomb threat on a mosque, a child bullied on a bus, or a slur painted on a building, hate is hate.
But Indiana is one of only 5 states in the country without a hate crimes law. Legislation was proposed this year that could have increased the length of the sentences for hate crimes, but after receiving much support in the Senate, the bill isn't going to get a hearing in the House. ISNA Secretary General Hazan Bada says he wants to see hate crime legislation put in place.
That kind of act sends a signal to every Muslim in Indianapolis that you are not wanted and you are not safe. That's what makes hate crimes so dangerous. It's not a crime against an individual, it's a crime against an entire community.
The racial slurs and vulgar images have since been removed from the walls of the ISNA headquarters. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm J.D. Gray.
The FBI have opened an investigation into the incident. There have been several other recent hate-related crimes across the state. A suspect attacked an 18-year-old Chinese exchange student at Brown County High School last month with a hatchet. He told police he was a white supremacist motivated by ethnic cleansing. And last October, an Indiana University student attacked a Muslim woman outside a cafe in Bloomington. Joining us now is Janine Bell. She's a faculty member at the Maurer School of Law at IU and a scholar of policing and hate crime. And she joins us now to discuss potential hate crime laws. Thank you very much for being here today. You know, we just mentioned a few of those cases in Indiana that have drawn a lot of attention. How could hate crime legislation affect these trials or charges associated with them?
The proposed legislation is a penalty enhancer, meaning that the perpetrators, if they are convicted, would receive additional sentence if the law is applied.
Now, we've seen lawmakers in support of a lot of these, but they're not making it to the governor's desk. Why?
It's not really clear. There are individuals who oppose hate crime legislation for a variety of reasons, including First Amendment challenges. Those challenges are not consistent with the Supreme Court case law in the area.
Just in general, what are some of those effects of not having hate crime laws here in Indiana?
If you commit a hate crime in Indiana currently without a hate crime law, that means that you cannot be punished in a way that actually fits the crime. Hate crimes are very traumatizing to victims, and without some sort of additional sentence that you can be charged with, then you'll be sentenced under the general criminal law, which is not really sufficient in hate crime cases.
Now, there are two sides of this situation, though. Are there anything that you would say argument against passing legislation, hate crime legislation?
I can't think of a really compelling argument against passing hate crime legislation. Hate crime legislation protects everyone. Anyone who has a race, that is, anyone is protected under a statute that addresses crimes committed against race, religion, sexual orientation, all sorts of other categories protect every single individual in society.
Thank you very much for being here today. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Medical device manufacturers across the state are getting some temporary relief after lawmakers passed a 2-year suspension of the medical device tax at the end of last year. The life sciences industry has been trying to repeal the tax since it took effect in January of 2013. The 2.3% levy helps offset the cost of the Affordable Care Act, but opponents argue it's a job killer and prohibits growth of the industry. As Barbara Brozier reports, they're hopeful the suspension will turn to a permanent repeal of the tax under a new president.
The warehouse at Cook Medical's Bloomington headquarters is bustling with energy. If you don't watch where you're going, you might run into one of the many employees who are filling orders to ship around the world. Cook employs about 5,000 people in Indiana, and the company would like to expand its operations. But company officials decided to put some of those plans on hold when the medical device tax went into effect 3 years ago.
Cook had on its design table 5 manufacturing plants that they were hoping to build in the United States. And the minute that tax was adopted, those expansion plans were put on hold.
The medical device tax helps offset the cost of the Affordable Care Act. The argument is, since medical device manufacturers could benefit from expanded healthcare coverage nationwide, they should help foot some of the bill. The Congressional Research Service estimates the levy could generate $29 billion in net revenues over the next decade. But medical device manufacturers like Cook say that's coming at a significant cost to them.
A lot of people say, well, it was just 2.3%, but the real impact to Cook was it raised our tax liability 32%.
The medical device tax is an excise tax, which means it's an off-the-top tax that isn't paid for directly by consumers. That translates to a significant impact on the finances of Indiana manufacturers. whether they're making money or not.
For companies that are doing well, some calculations I've seen on the back of the envelope say it's probably equivalent to a 10 or 15% increase in income tax.
For the next 2 years, companies won't have to shoulder that burden. Lawmakers passed a suspension of the tax with their spending budget in December.
It never should have been put in there in the first place. It is a tax unlike any other tax. If you don't make a profit, if you don't earn income as a taxpayer, you don't owe tax. But this one imposed taxes whether you had a profit or not, simply on your sales.
The life sciences industry is huge in Indiana, accounting for roughly 1/3 of the state's exports. Because of the industry's impact, both of Indiana's senators support a full repeal of the medical device tax, but multiple efforts to kill it have failed. They're hoping that could change next year.
79 senators voted on a budget bill a couple of years ago stating their position on full repeal. That was a very substantial amount of Democrats on their side and Republicans, all the Republicans. 79 out of 100 is a pretty good indicator that there will be real support for going forward under a new president.
Until then, companies like Cook say the temporary relief will allow them to address short-term needs like hiring. But once the suspension expires, they'll be faced with more tough decisions.
You can't pay for a tax that has that kind of an impact by reducing the number of pencils or paper clips that you buy. It really means you're not going to expand your company. You're not going to do R&D research. So it really has an impact on allowing a company to innovate.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Barbara Brozier.
Cook says because the Affordable Care Act is largely providing insurance for those from younger demographics, they haven't seen a significant financial benefit because few young people need the products they make. In many cases, their products were being used by people already covered under Medicare or Medicaid. And now for headlines, we go over to Barbara Brozier, who has the latest on this week's top stories.
Thanks, Joe. According to a report from the Violence Center Policy, Indiana has the highest rate of black homicide victims in the U.S. 34 of 100,000 black Americans are killed by homicide in the state. That is nearly double the national average. Exodus Refugee Immigration is expecting to resettle several Syrian refugees in Indiana over the next few months, despite Governor Pence's vow to block state funding. A judge ruled Monday in a civil lawsuit against Pence, saying he cannot deny state funds to Syrian refugees. Pence says he will use any legal options available to appeal the decision. Exodus will move forward with plans for Syrian refugee resettlement even if they permanently lose state funding.
We're not going to turn away families that it's not who we are as Hoosiers. It's not a good move for the state. We fully disagree with Pence's actions, so we would find alternative ways to serve that family.
Varga is confident the judge will rule in their favor if the case is appealed. Indiana has a new lieutenant governor. Eric Holcomb served in the Navy and is a top advisor to several Indiana politicians before Governor Mike Pence tapped him for the lieutenant governor position.
He's just a great guy, and he's going to be a great lieutenant governor.
Holcomb takes office 8 months before his name will appear on the ballot with Pence. Former Lieutenant Governor Sue Ellspermann resigned to pursue the presidency at Ivy Tech. 3 projects in Kokomo cost the city nearly $30,000 in fines. The city paid civil penalties to the Indiana Department of Environmental Management for its baseball stadium, Wildcat Creek floodplain, and Costwold Hills sanitary sewer project. Kokomo racked up 20 violations, including failure to implement plans aimed at erosion and sediment control. Bloomington's mayor wants high-speed internet access to be as accessible to the community as electricity and water. The city hosted a symposium this week to talk about making that goal a reality. The mayor says he's talking to private companies about providing high-speed broadband internet access to residents.
My 3 principles are: we want a citywide solution, we want a community-controlled solution, and we want a self-sufficient or a system that will make enough money to be sustainable.
Hamilton says providing broadband access will help the city attract new talent and keep students from moving away after graduation. There were several discussions about race throughout the community this week. The first in a series of conversations hosted by IU's provost was held Wednesday. It focused on policing in the Black Lives Matter movement with a panel of law and history professors.
The system that we're operating within right now is several hundred years old, and we're not going to change that in 25 minutes. We need to recognize that now. That's not to say that we shouldn't be trying to and we shouldn't be fighting for change. That's exactly what we should be doing. What we need to look for is incremental change.
Conversations on other hot topic issues will continue through the semester. Carl Cook is the richest person in the Hoosier State, according to Forbes magazine's annual list of the world's billionaires. Cook is the heir to the Cook Medical Group fortune. He is worth $4.8 billion, more than $1 billion less than his 2014 net worth. Other Hoosiers on the list, who are each worth more than $2 billion each, include Herbert Simon, Dean White, and Jim Irsay. Both Indiana men's and women's basketball teams are gearing up for March Madness. They've been very successful at home this year. The women are undefeated, and so are the men, as they head into their final home game this weekend.
Assembly Hall is often considered to have one of the greatest home court advantages in college basketball. But there is one feat that's never been accomplished: having both the men's and women's teams finish a season with perfect records at home. The men have done it 8 times in the 45-year history of the building. The women had never gone undefeated at home until Saturday, when they defeated Penn State, completing a perfect 14-0 home slate.
That's one of the things that they'll have for the rest of their lives. You know, this group of young ladies they went 14-0 in Assembly Hall together.
Meanwhile, the men, who clinched the Big Ten regular season title Tuesday, are 16-0 at Assembly Hall, with 1 game remaining Sunday against Maryland. After that game, renovations to the building, which are currently focused on the exterior, will kick into high gear. The work is expected to be complete by October and will include a new scoreboard, upholstery, and lounge boxes, among other things. But the core elements of the hall, such as the steep seating, won't change.
The fact that we've had such a fabulous home season, I think, is a great goodbye note to the old Assembly Hall and a great way to usher in the new Simon Scott Assembly Hall.
And Joe, a lot of people looking forward to seeing those renovations.
Thanks, Barbara. Coming up next on Indiana Newsdesk. Find out how new software could save precious time for firefighters on the road. And they once were used almost exclusively for canning, but now people are finding new uses for these jars. We'll celebrate the anniversary of ball jar production in Muncie. These stories and more right here on Indiana Newsdesk.
We are a nation of explorers. We seek new ways of living, of thinking, and of expressing ourselves. We take risks, we learn from experience, and we keep moving forward. That's why we encourage and celebrate the explorer in all of us.
$10,000.
15? 15, you think?
20, 21,000?
600.
20. 18.5.
24.
It's at least 40.
Look at it.
4,500,000.
650.
20.
650.
This textile would be worth about $500,000.
$500,000?
No way.
I knew it. It's just a blanket.
Laying on the back of a chair. Well, sir, you have a national treasure.
Wow.
A national treasure. Congratulations.
I can't believe this.
Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. Well, it's been another busy week at the State House. A bill that would have allowed superintendents to give teachers raises without negotiating with teachers' unions is dead. The Senate killed its version of the legislation last week, saying it was perceived as anti-teacher and they couldn't support it. But the House continued on with another version this week, which ultimately died at the final step in the process on Thursday. Lawmakers in both chambers say they'll likely revisit the issue next year. A further revised road funding bill is headed to a conference committee. The Senate approved a bill that draws from the state's surplus to pay for road repairs. The bill also would create a new task force charged with looking for solutions to Indiana's infrastructure needs. Although the bill does not propose a raise in taxes, it does give freedom to local governments hoping to raise or create taxes to cover road expenses. House lawmakers approved a bill Thursday that would enshrine in state law Governor Mike Pence's health care program for low-income Hoosiers called HIP 2.0. More than 370,000 Hoosiers use the program. The governor and GOP lawmakers want to codify the entire program, meaning to change any of it would require legislation in the future. The proposal now goes to the Senate. House lawmakers approved a bill yesterday that raises the amount a patient can get in a medical malpractice lawsuit. The cap increases from its current limit of $1.25 million to $1.8 million by 2019. It's the first increase in nearly 20 years. The bill now heads to conference committee. A bill that mandates new environmental regulations cannot exceed federal EPA standards is headed to the governor's desk. After a number of changes, the legislation now only requires the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, or IDEM, to report proposed changes for legislative review. IDEM also cannot implement stricter rules until after the legislature can review them. Previously, this bill would have disallowed any rule stricter than the EPA regulations. After 10 years of debate, regulations on high-fence deer hunting are headed to the governor. A court ruling left the preserves entirely unregulated last year. The bill sets rules for things such as the preserve size and fence height. It also requires owners to report disease and escapes. A bill regulating online fantasy sports is headed back to the Senate. The bill includes operating fees for the websites. The initial fee is $50,000 with a $5,000 renewal fee. The bill also would create a committee to investigate tax withholdings. Currently, daily fantasy operators do not have to withhold income tax from their winnings. Lawmakers in the Senate are hoping to resurrect legislation that would make abortions illegal if they are linked to a fetus's race, sex, or disability. This was added as an amendment to a bill covering the disposal of fetal remains. The bill is headed back to the House in its revised form. Legislation overhauling the Bureau of Motor Vehicles registration and fee system is closer to becoming law. New leadership at the BMV worked with legislators to simplify vehicle registrations and eliminate more than 150 BMV fees. The bill passed through the Senate this week and is likely headed to a conference committee. A collaboration between Indiana University, the Bloomington Fire Department, and a Swedish software designer could mean a decrease in the time it takes for firefighters to reach your house. As James Gray reports, firefighters at the Bloomington headquarters fire station are looking forward to the installation of new software.
When firefighters head out on a call, there's a lot to think about and a lot of unknowns.
This is our mapping system of old, and as you can see, it's a piece of paper.
With the installation of new technology, Bloomington firefighters will have a better idea of what to expect when they're called to a scene, which could save valuable time.
Now with these enhanced communication systems, I know that we're saving 30, 40, 50 seconds right off the bat.
Large monitors will display route information inside the station. Once firefighters leave, data from dispatchers will be updated and sent to firefighters in the field. This could include information about where in a building a fire is located or if there are hazardous chemicals in the building.
So what you would see is essentially something that's very similar to this.
Developers say the software creates an advantage for firefighters who can be blindsided by unexpected traffic problems.
So the interesting thing is the map will be overlaid with the Google traffic information. So you'll get, when you glance at the map, you'll get an overall feeling of what traffic in Bloomington is like at that particular point in time.
The fire station expects to have the new technology installed this spring. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm JD Gray.
Currently, 3 stations in Bloomington are planning to use the new technology, but if it is found to be a success, those numbers could grow. Mason jars are having a resurgence. Companies like Ball in Muncie, Indiana began manufacturing the glass containers at the end of the 19th century. They were used primarily for food storage, but as Lindsay Wright reports, over time, people have found many more uses for the jars.
This week marks the 128th anniversary for the start of production in the famed Ball Glass Works of Muncie factory.
Everybody knows Ball jar. That's a brand name known from Mexico to Canada and sea to sea.
The jars were used for keeping and preserving food in the 20th century, everything from canning garden vegetables to storing jellies.
As those people passed on, died, the heirs would liquidate that stuff. Well, what am I going to do? And they don't can anymore, so they would put them up for sale. So the market got flooded with canning jars.
Now the jars are having a renaissance of sorts due to craft websites and online videos. Ball jars have become collector's items too. Some rare versions of the jars sell on eBay for more than $250. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Lindsay Wright.
And that's the end of this program, but our work continues online at WTIUnews.org. Have a great weekend.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by the following: IU Health Southern Indiana physicians, primary care and specialty care providers, now accepting new patients in Bloomington and throughout South Central Indiana. siphysicians.org, IU Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research, working to improve cybersecurity and provide policy guidance through partnerships with industry, government, and academia.
Smithville Fiber, the Gigacity Company, fiber internet, HD, and digital IPTV in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com.
And by WTIU members. Thank you.